Mansfield-Laham's interest in the military started early in life. After graduating from West Point, he became the first American entrant in the James Gordon Bennett International Balloon Race. Lahm outdistanced his nearest competitors by 34 miles, winning the Air Classic. Shortly after that, Lahm was ordered to duty with the newly created Aeronautical Division of the Office of the Chief Signal Officer, U.S. Army. The Aeronautical Division was the direct ancestor of the U.S. Air Force. Lahm's tour with the Aeronautical Section lasted until November 1909. During this period, he learned to fly an airship, became a friend of Alexander Graham Bell, and flew with Orville Wright September 9, 1908, becoming the first person in the U.S. military to fly in an airplane. After spending 18 months with the 7th Cavalry at Fort Riley, Kansas, Lahm was ordered to Fort William McKinley near Manila, where he started military aviation in the Philippines. Using a Wright B airplane, he taught a number of Army personnel to fly, among them Sergeant Vernon L. Bruges, the first enlisted man to qualify as a pilot. In October 1914, Lahm returned to the States. He was promoted to captain and ordered to North Island, San Diego, as secretary of the Aviation School. The installation wasn't much, but it was all we had at the time, the only flying field being operated by the Army. The latest planes were the Curtiss Jenny that was to become so famous during World War I. When the Army began expanding its training program, Lahm was sent to Fort Omaha, Nebraska, to take command of the Signal Corps Balloon School. But shortly after arriving, he broke his leg. The U.S. was at war with Germany when Lahm received a wire from Washington giving him the choice of taking sick leave or going to England on an inspection tour of balloon schools. He immediately accepted the European tour. After touring facilities in England, Lahm was assigned to the balloon headquarters of the 2nd British Army, where he began to learn of the full potential of the military balloon in combat. Later, he flew observer for General Billy Mitchell on an aerial reconnaissance along the front. When Lahm completed this duty, the air service of the 2nd American Army was being formed, and Lahm was selected to command it. The headquarters was located at Toul, France. There were 7 pursuit squadrons with SPAD fighters and 3 bombardment and 6 observation squadrons with DH-4 two-seaters. The DH-4 was the only American-built airplane to get into combat. The airplane didn't get to France until late in the war, and it was up to Lahm's flyers to prove it in action. On November 11, 1918, Germany surrendered to the Allies. Lahm's men had flown 1,324 sorties, a fine record for less than a month in action. Lahm's greatest dream was a single airfield for all flight training. His dream came true when the citizens of San Antonio donated 3,200 acres of land for Randolph Field, the West Point of the air. In 1931, Lahm became air attaché for several countries in Europe. He returned home in 1935 and became air officer of the First Army. Approaching his 64th birthday and mandatory retirement, Lahm was sent to Randolph Field to command the training center he had organized in 1926. On the evening before the 32nd anniversary of his first solo flight, Lahm attended a reception given for him at Randolph. On November 30th, 1941, a final review brought to an end his distinguished military career. General Frank P. Lahm, United States Air Force, passed away at the age of 85. His remains were cremated, and the ashes were sprinkled from an airplane over Randolph Air Force Base, the place he had loved so very much. One of America's earliest and greatest aviators, and one of its outstanding air officers. He had served his country faithfully for a period stretching across 45 years.